Hello, fellow cultists. This is DM Nell, and I am out of the dungeon, as you can tell. I think it is the first for any of my videos. I unfortunately have some dogs that I'm dog watching, and I don't want them to destroy my house. So I am doing my video um, up here out of my dreary basement. So, what I wanted to cover today is a timeline that I've been working on for the history of Earth. Now, to be honest, I didn't create this from scratch. This timeline was actually started by somebody and shared back when we had a Google Plus community, and I don't recall who it was that shared it. So whoever you were, whoever you are, if you're still out there, if you're watching this video, I thank you for starting that timeline. I have taken your timeline and I have added to it. Since that was several years ago, there's been a lot of supplements that have come out, and a lot more of the history of the Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign has been produced. And so I wanted to incorporate that into the timeline, and which is what I've attempted to do here. So the reason I'm sharing this is because I find it helps with my immersion in the universe and creating campaigns and creating adventures to understand how everything fits together. And keeping a timeline helps me understand where all of these things that are happening and have happened in this world, where they fit in the history of the world and in relation to each other in particular. So I want to know, how many years has it been since the Gog first came out of the desolation? How many years has it been since the Witch King was overthrown? How many years has it been since the city of Azul was founded? All of these things help help me to create more realism when I'm GMing an adventure. So, for example, the city of Azul is one of the oldest cities in the empire, and so I want to I want to convey the sense of that over to my players by saying, hey, this city was founded in the year 48 BF, which is before founding of the empire, which means it is almost 1,000 years old. To give a sense of how old that city is, what cities do we have now that are almost 1,000 years old? um, So, this helps to put things in perspective when I have information like that I can reference and put things in perspective for my players. So that's why I have this timeline. And so what I've done here is I have the date over here in this column. I have the event in the middle column, and I have the source in the right hand column, so that I can go back to the source, and if I need to refresh myself on any one of these events, I can go back to that source material and read up on it again. So a lot of the history of the world happens before history was being documented. So that would be the prehistory section of the calendar or the timeline, which begins when God was everything, and it goes all the way up until the shadow falls upon Earth and the beginning of recorded history. And then from that point on, we have actual dates that we can put into context. So everything before recorded history, which let's see, I actually start recorded history here at 1000 BF. You can take that negative out. 1000 BF is 1000 years before the founding of the empire. So that's when history began to be recorded. Everything before then doesn't have a date. So that can be whatever amount of time you want to assign to it. So everything from the creation of the universe through the creation of the world, through the creation of the Fae, through the creation of the mortals, through the creation of the old faith, all that stuff happens in this period of time that is undefined. So that can be millions of years, that can be thousands of years, that can be hundreds of years. It's all up to you. Um, I personally have in my head that the universe was created about 100,000 years before the events of the current campaign. So the 100,000 years seems like a good amount of time for the multiverse to be created, and or this universe to be created, and for the world to be created by the genies and all that stuff. I don't really need billions and millions of years for evolution and all that stuff because the genies didn't start the world with evolution. They just created shit as they thought it up, and their servants created shit as they thought it up. So there was no real evolution to speak of. It was just a process of creation that resulted in all the ancestries and all the stuff that exists in the world today. So again, don't need billions and millions of years. I figure 100,000 years ought to cut it. But it's undefined. So if I want to, I can expand that into a million years, or into 100 million years, or into you know 200 billion years. It doesn't really matter. It's all undefined. So that is the nice thing about having prehistory is that you don't have to pigeonhole yourself as far as that goes. Now, one thing I did want to get though documented in this prehistory is the sequence of events that went from the creation of the world to the creation of the genies to the creation of the first men or the men of Gog to the creation of the first men and the creation of mortals. And all of that I've documented in the order in which it occurred. Again, just to keep it straight in my brain. And I'm pretty happy with it because then I can understand when all these things occurred, how all these things occurred, and how it comes into play. Now, the bottom part of the um, prehistory starts getting closer to recorded history, and that includes events such as the Fey Wars, the First Men, the Men of Gog being created, the Woad appearing on Earth, um, the rule, uh, the Reen showing up on the Earth. All those things happen closer to recorded history, but still just outside of recorded history. So, and then I wanted to explain why all these cosmic upheavals occurred out there in the universe that resulted in the Woad coming here and resulted in the Reen coming here. So, what I try to explain here in my Shadow Falls section is that the Shadow of the Demon Lord fell upon our universe, but slowly creeped across it, made its way to Earth. And then when it actually reached Earth, it hit the northern hemisphere first, which caused all the upheaval in the continents and the civilizations outside of Rule, which resulted in the Edene coming to Rule and invading it. So I wanted to put that all into context, which begins with the shadow falling on our world, on this world, and slowly creeping from the northern hemisphere into the southern hemisphere. And then we start getting into the recorded history, which starts with the Edene invasion. The Edene appear on the eastern shores of Rule, and they pretty much sweep across and start conquering everything. That's also when the Fae decided, fuck that, and they create their hidden kingdoms and hide from the spread of humanity that is sparked by the invasion. So the next 1,000 years is again pretty loose. I tried to capture major events that occurred, like the creation of the city of Rathos, which is ultimately going to be the future city of Caicus. I also wanted to get the birth of Ashrakal, the attack of the Gog, which managed to be the downfall of the kingdom, the empire of the Adine, and then the rise of the Witch King's empire. I also wanted to put a time frame to the empire of the Witch King because that's not really clearly defined in any of the supplements. So I kind of envisioned that the Witch King's empire lasted about 50 years. And 50 years is a good amount of time for the events that happened under the Witch King's rule to have occurred. in my mind. So 50 years before the rise of the empire is when the empire of the Witch King rose. So all the things that happened that resulted in the slow decline of the Witch King, culminating with the invasion of the Calasians and the fall of the Witch King, which starts the modern calendar. And then in the modern calendar, I wanted to start capturing more modern events that shapes the world that we have in the campaign today, and that includes things like the founding of the new god of the new cult, the cult god of the new cult, the cult of the new god, the founding of the various cities that are, that the player characters will be visiting. The founding of certain orders like the Black Books, the Thieves Guild, um, the creation or the founding of the Northern Reach, and due to the Crusades, which was caused by the second surge of Gog coming down from the Desolation. And I also wanted to kind of put some time around the renaissance of technology in the continent, because I wanted technology to be a thing that has been uh, rapidly growing over the last couple hundred years, starting with the discovery of steam power, the creation of the train, the creation of airships, and all the different innovations that exist today, firearms, that sort of thing. So I kind of see this as a combination of the Renaissance, the Old West, and those time frames in our real world that have a lot of cool, flavorful history. The Old West, of course, is very flavorful. Victorian England is very flavorful. Kind of a steampunk version of Victorian England. I'm envisioning. So I wanted to include all of that in this timeline, probably within the last couple hundred years. And so I do that by plugging in some original content that's not in any of the source material, just to add that flavor into my particular campaign. So those entries are here. I also have when some of the current monarchs and rulers of the various cities came into power. And then, of course, current history begins with the Orc Uprising, uh, the emperor being slain, and Lord Drudge taking claiming the Alabaster Throne. And then finally, I have documented the the two campaigns that I've already run, and the third campaign that I am currently planning, which I kind of covered in my last video. So, at any rate, I just wanted to share this timeline with you all just to show you what I did to kind of organize the vast amount of source material that we've received from Schwalb Entertainment. So, hopefully, this will be something that will interest you and spark your own desire to organize all of that information. I'm going to put the link to my Google Drive for this document in the comment section or the show notes or whatever the part where you can put a link in YouTube. So if you're interested, feel free to go out and take a look and steal shamelessly if you'd like. Um, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and call this a video. So you are a video, and I am going to stop you there. As always, thank you to Schwalb Entertainment for everything that you provide us. And once again, I just want to say that I do not have any affiliation with Schwalb Entertainment. I'm just a guy trying to keep this game, uh, going and trying to spread the news of the existence of this game so that other people can be caught up in this cult and keep the game alive. So like my video if you like the content. That helps to increase the viewership of the videos and keep it more relevant so that people can find it when they're doing searches in YouTube for Shadow of the Demon Lord content. So also leave a comment if you have any ideas of your own that you would like to see me cover. So with that, I thank you all for watching, and a hearty hail to our Demon Lord, Mr. Schwalb. Thank you all, and have a great day.